This week at Bungie, Season of the Splicer was revealed. Colorblind support. Stasis abilities now have colorblind support. So you'll see enemy crystals, Squall, Duskfield, and Bleak Watcher. Player highlighting in the Crucible now has colorblind support. For subclass tuning, Hunters, the freeze detonation from Silence and Squall has been reduced from 12 meters to 8.5 meters in radius. The enemy Squall now has a red ring to define area as it approaches. So the problem with Squall is people can get out of it pretty easily, especially if they have super. And I feel like the Hunter super, I think that's Squall, I'm assuming. The Hunter super needs a little bit of work to be competitive. I think the super is not the issue when it comes to Crucible, it's the abilities. And they've already nerfed the Hunter. I honestly think the super was over-nerfed. Titan's Shiver Strike melee energy is now refunded when Glacial Quake ends. Fixed an issue in which players can trigger Whisper of Torment by standing in an opponent's barricade. Warlock's Shadebinder Bleak Watcher aspect now grants 2 fragment slots. I don't know what it granted before. Chaos Reach fixed an issue with Chaos Reach super that was allowing it to penetrate some thin walls or objects enough to damage and kill opponents on the other side. Yeah, it's called Major AoE. I'm not sure that was an accident. They're not claiming it is. New mode. A menu that appears when pulling out your ghost. This is actually what we're looking at right now. Separated bounties from quests in nav mode. Nice. Oh, I see it. Oh my gosh. We get to track a lot more than just 3 things. All bounties now appear in nav mode. They can no longer be tracked as a result. What? Okay, what if you have 30 bounties like I do right now? Like, seriously, I have all the bounties waiting to be done. Category switching on keyboard and mouse can now be controlled with a scroll wheel. I don't have a scroll wheel. Track Triumph now appears in its own nav mode category. I hope they didn't remove the other option. UI Legends added to the Director Destinations tab. This is where you'll find Vault of Glass in just a few weeks. Shortcut between HUD quest step notifications and quest details screen added for keyboard and mouse users. 6v6 Crucible activities have an updated intro experience. Cycle through your teammates to view metrics associated with the activity you're entering. Oh my gosh. I don't really care about this, but I think my PvP friends will love it. Helm now appears in the Director Destinations tab, moved from the tower map, and has its own map. Focused Umbral engrams and Prismatic Recaster. Umbral engrams now auto-decrypt when focused via the Prismatic Recaster. Thank you! The visual states for focusing options on the Prismatic Recaster have been streamlined to reduce visual clutter and confusion. Glory, Valor, and Infamy. These changes are a precursor to some larger improvements planned for Season 15, e.g. introducing Vanguard Reputation, rebalancing Infamy to bring a reset in line with Valor. Thank God! Resetting Infamy is a nightmare. Like, you have to do way more Gambit than any other activity to reset. It's like, why even bother? I just don't want to play this mode. I mean, I don't want to play Gambit for many reasons, but we'll have more information on these changes in a few months. Glory, Valor, and Infamy reputations have had their internal systems rebuilt to be a unified implementation. In-game players should expect minimal perceived changes, except if they really did this, Infamy will not take forever to reset. Unified Glory, Valor, and Infamy rank reputation tracking. Before Forsaken, Glory, and Valor had only major ranks, Guardian, Brave, etc. After Forsaken, Glory and Valor gained sub-ranks, Brave 1, Brave 2, Brave 3, alongside Infamy. However, all the historical tracking, lifetime ranks, and quest usage still use the original major ranks. Now the sub-ranks are now referred to simply as ranks, and all usage has been converted to use them where appropriate, i.e. all lifetime values and quest targets have been multiplied by 3. Glory playlist no longer block Valor. Win streaks from declining. The Valor badge now appears on the Trials launch screen. That is actually nice. Infamy win streak bonus is now linear, plus 35 points for a win. Glory win streak bonus is now linear, plus 20 points per win. And note that with the eventual update to Vanguard Reputation, which is going to be like Crucible and Gambit, players should be ready to spend their Vanguard tokens during Season of the Splicer. I spend my tokens when I get them. I no longer hoard them because, like, there are a lot of great weapons you can get in the World Loot Pool. And yeah, you get armor from Shaxx and Zavala, which is lame. But, like, you're going to get some of the same weapons you get from Bungie. And there's some really good weapons right now. You should be farming those. Ooh, Eververse. Eververse archive filtering. Players can now easily filter the offerings in the Storefront Archive tab. Per numerous community requests, we added many exotic weapon and armor ornaments from previous seasons to the Archive tab. Bright Engrams, Spawn, FX, and shaders are now standalone items in Bright Engrams. Really? It'd be nice if the new shaders were in Bright Engrams, because they're 300 Bright Dust a piece now. So if they're going to be standalones, they need to give us the new shaders and engrams. Like, reward people for leveling up in this game. Bright engrams can no longer decrypt into duplicates of these items. Okay. Okay. So then we might get new shaders. I don't know. A small amount of glimmer will be awarded when decrypting bright engrams. Kind of makes up for the shader situation. Guys, we're really losing out by losing shaders with the way they're doing this. General things, momentum control and Team Scorched have returned and will be available as part of the weekly playlist rotation, as long as we keep Mayhem. Added repeatable bounties to Shahan in the Cosmodrome. Yes, hopefully for Bright Dust. No, it's probably not for Bright Dust. It's probably just XP. Fixed an issue causing vaulted gear to erroneously drop from Strike Unique loot lists. Are we talking armor or weapons? Because I like the weapons. I don't care that they're vaulted. Like, give me my weapons. Added a full suite of trace rifle focused armor mods to the game. We needed that. We didn't have trace rifle stuff. We're now gonna, it sounds like we're gonna have a trace rifle ammo finder, which, you know, people have been wanting. I think people are using auto rifle ammo finder, like that worked for trace rifles. While the following won't happen in update 3.2.0, we have some news concerning 2018 and 2019 Solstice of Heroes armor glows. In the April 22nd TWAB article, it was stated that glows for these armor sets would not be supported by Armor Synthesis due to technical issues. Since the new 2020 ornament mechanics were well received, we were able to rebuild how 2018 and 2019 glows work to address the community's requests. Actually, what happened is on Reddit, people had a shit fit because they paid money for these glows, or a lot of bright dust, in my case, for those glows, and they wanted them. That's what happened. So complaining works with Bungie. Our current plan is to make these glows into universal ornament sets like 2020 Solstice of Heroes Universal Ornaments. This fix will have some limitations. These ornaments will not be updated to support Stasis, but will support Solar, Arc, or Void subclasses. I mean, that's fair, because that's all we had back then. In addition, the granted ornaments will be for the legendary armor set from each year only. Players who acquired any subclass type glow for that year slot will receive the corresponding legendary universal ornament for all three classes. So I couldn't afford the glows for all the sets, so that means I get all of them now. Okay, this is a plus. Not a big deal, but it's a plus. And there's some cool armor from previous Solstice of Heroes. We are hoping to have this fix deployed by Solstice of Heroes 2021, but we cannot yet guarantee the date. Stay tuned to future TWABs for additional information. Seasonal titles and Bungee Rewards. Season of the Chosen ends on May 11th. View our update 3.2.0 timeline before for what time it will end. The season of the Splicer begins. And season of the Splicer begins. Before the season ends, players who earn the Chosen, Conqueror, and Flawless titles should claim and equip them to ensure that they don't get removed. So guys, just click through all your titles. Make sure there's a check mark next to it. Switch to the next one. Click on it. Make sure there's a check mark next to it. Make sure you have all the new titles. You have to equip it so it's over your name before it really truly takes hold on your account. And then you're free to switch to whatever you want to. You're good. Multiple Bungee Rewards should also be earned in-game before May 11th at 10 a.m. Pacific, which is 1 p.m. Eastern, and claimed on the Bungee Rewards site by May 14th, 2021. I have not done the Bungee Rewards stuff. So, if you haven't gotten these, okay, I'll give you guys the link. So you're going to want to sign in with your Steam account or whatever you play on and get your rewards. Some of them have you go through a process of purchasing. I don't think the emblems do. But then once you've claimed all your rewards, exit your game, reboot it up, and they should be in your inventory. Easy. A lot of them are things that you can buy. I personally don't recommend that, but we've got hoarders. So, like, I need to do this. For the bronze medal, an exclusive emblem can be redeemed for free. Really? Bronze? So that would be the Titans? This might actually have different text depending on when you log in and what you've played. I don't know. I don't know when this will be available. We'll see. We'll see. It could be available this weekend when Guardian Games ends. Like, we have the final ceremony. Funny. Seasonal challenges. As we announced earlier, when Season of the Chosen ends and Season of the Splicer begins, seasonal challenges from Season of the Chosen will be retired. Any seasonal challenges that are required to upgrade the war table and the helm will still be available to complete. Shader upkeep. Beginning in Season of the Splicer, we are overhauling our shader system and how shaders can be applied to armor. Due to the overhaul, shaders will become permanent unlocks and all shaders in player inventories will be removed. We encourage everyone to dismantle their shaders before Season of the Splicer begins to receive Glimmer and Legendary Shards. So, my recommendation, go through all your shaders that you have in your inventory, get them down to a multiple of 5. So, like, if you have 37 shaders for one color, get it down to 35. And then you can take it over to Rahul and dismantle them 5 at a time. It's a lot faster than doing it 1 at a time. Now, there is a bug. Someone told me that they had a shader where it wouldn't let them do the mass dismantle. And then I had 2 other shaders going into Beyond Light that were from Season of Arrivals that I couldn't do mass dismantle with either. And I had like 300 of each. It's crazy. I just sit there and just delete. It was terrible. But delete them, guys. It's Glimmer and it's Legendary Shards. And watch your Glimmer when you're deleting your shaders. If you max it out, go into collections and buy sparrows and ships. Because you can just kind of like use those to store the value of Glimmer because you can break them down for Glimmer. And there's sparrows and ships that give you like 5,000 Glimmer when you dismantle them. There's certain ones. And I do have a video on YouTube about that. The free Prime Engram, yeah. See, you're doing it right now. You're going through it. Period. On Tuesday, May 11th, which is reset day. Well, reset day for the week and the season. 9 a.m., so that's 12 p.m. Eastern. Maintenance will begin. 12:45, players will be removed. And at 1 o'clock, the update will be available across all platforms and regions. Some of the issues that will be resolved with update 3.2.0. Some of the issues. There will be a complete list when the update goes live. In the Warden of Nothing strike, the number of champions defeated will now track properly for each player. Fellwinter's Helm will no longer cause 2020 Solstice of Heroes armor glows to default to void. I didn't know that was a thing, regardless of the player's current subclass. Players on the Moon will no longer automatically join the Hive Ritual public event and must engage in combat to join the event as intended. I appreciate that. I hate joining public events I don't want to join. Like, let me manually do it. Especially as a content creator who doesn't always want to hear that awful music or, like, the dialogue. In the Disgraced Strike, players will no longer be locked out of the boss room for spawning too far behind other fire team members. Arcstrider Hunter's Combat Flow will no longer fail to trigger on melee kills. I have no idea what that is. New light tutorial messages will no longer appear during Crucible and Gambit matches. In Gambit, dropped motes will no longer disappear immediately if the opposing team summons their Primeval. Oh, I didn't know that was a problem. Known issues. While we continue investigating various known issues, here's a list of the latest issues that were reported to us in our help forum. We continue to investigate issues regarding low performance on PCs. Season of the Chosen quests, the Hammer Proving, and Guardian Games quests may still appear in the seasonal tab of the quest log after Season of the Splicer launches. And we're continuing to investigate various error codes, including Weasel and Anteater. We have double Infamy this week. So if you need to do the challenge where you have to reset your rank, and it's not just resetting, you have to actually hit all the ranks since that challenge went live, go do Gambit. And do it with friends. You need friends. Especially once you get to Legend, because you have to win and do bounties. Lots of bounties. Getting through Legend was a pain. But those bounties are worth more XP if you're in a fire team. Guardians can now complete the first seasonal challenge week. As part of Bungee Rewards, you can redeem the free Thrill of the Chase emblem as you complete the Master All Triumph. I believe that emblem is part of that rewards page that I posted. Knowing, like, what weapon to pick for your heavy, it's kind of nice to, you know, actually think about what you're trying to accomplish with it. And honestly, linear fusion rifles, like, it's a why bother weapon at this point. So they went through the heavy weapon rules, which I think is a really good idea. It's really good for new players to look at this TWAB for this. So the explanation of the rules. So you have Add Clear. There's like 3 roles it may take on. Add Clear, clearing weaker enemies faster than you could with a primary ammo weapon. So like machine guns are good for that. For most content, primaries do the Add Clear job perfectly well, so this is most useful in high difficulty PvE, such as GM Nightfalls, where you sometimes benefit from the rapid fire damage of a machine gun, or the group clearing potential of a rocket launcher. I still am not really impressed with rocket launchers. I mean, they're kind of fun, but considering the ammo economy and how it's so easy not to kill anything with one, it's like, I think they still need help. Single target damage, such as burning down a boss like Whisper the Worm, is something that we've used for that. And burst damage, burning down a champion quickly, or for bosses with multiple damage phases, and clearing a phase quickly. So how weapons map to roles. The sword is its ammo efficient add clear, single target sustained damage, secondary burst damage, at the cost of being next to a dangerous target. The rocket launcher is burst damage, secondary add clear. Machine gun is an ammo efficient add clear with secondary single target sustained damage. Bungie says that they expect to adjust machine guns in a future season because they're currently not hitting this target, which is very true. Linear fusion rifles, this is what everyone is looking forward to. Single target sustained damage. Which right now, looking at all these legendary linear fusion rifles, so sustained damage, secondary burst damage. Drum grenade launchers, burst add clear, secondary single target damage, and exotic snipers, single target sustained damage, where the target has a handy crit spot. A few examples of how we've used heavy weapons in playtests of high difficulty content or when we've played Grandmaster Nightfalls, Bungie says. Linear fusion rifles, burning down champions, boss damage where the boss has a crit spot or with divinity. Rocket launchers, burst damage against champions or bosses, particularly with lasting impression. and clearing clumped up waves of top adds. And then the machine gun, breaking matching shields and GMs where other weapons can't do the trick. Using a machine gun instead of a primary weapon in a heavy ammo-rich situation where your primary and special weapons are not rapid fire, such as Le Monarch and Succession. Whatever machine gun has a useful damage type to this GM. And I will say, what's interesting is there's a build that I used to do quite a bit. Once I got threat level, which is probably my favorite shotgun in the game. It's Sunset. It's from Scourge of the Past. I really enjoyed pairing threat level with a Suro sidearm. Like, the two of those together were amazing. But those are like ad clearing close range weapons. And what I found for heavy is I really liked machine guns. So like, this is a great example of what a machine gun can do. So I usually use Delirium or Hammerhead, depending on whether or not I had Void Shields or Arc Shields. And Solar, I never liked any of the Solar machine guns we had at the time. But that is actually a really fun loadout. Shotgun with a sidearm and then a machine gun. So something to consider when they buff machine guns. Balance philosophy. There are two approaches Bungie takes to making balance changes. And this is where people like me laugh because we don't believe that they try to balance the game. And they pretty much admitted that a few TWABs ago. They don't balance the game, they force a meta. And this is why people get so upset about things. Big swings. They make a big change that they believe will immediately encourage new player behavior. This is most useful when they need to nerf or buff something hard enough that everyone can tell that it's happened, with the expectation that they may need to dial the tuning in a later release. Examples include the 120 hand cannon buff in Beyond Light or the rocket launcher buff in Season of the Chosen. Incremental changes take something that they feel isn't far from where it needs to be and nudge it a little at a time. Most useful when they don't want to overcorrect and make something overpowered, or when they don't want to make a change with huge test wake and would prefer smaller, safer changes. Examples: the precision auto rifle change outlined below this, or the Season of the Arrival's high impact pulse rifle change. So we talked about this a little bit earlier today. A small note on damage fall-off distances. And when we call out changes to damage fall-off distance, we always do so according to a weapons-based damage fall-off, i.e. hipfire. Damage fall-off distance increases differently based on a weapon's zoom. So for example, the fusion rifle distance changes described below, or the hand cannon distance change called out previously, will be higher when zoomed. Weapon archetypes. Precision auto rifles, 450s. This subfamily fell behind other auto rifles in the auto rifle tuning last year, so damage has been increased to be closer to the time to kill of others. That makes sense. So increased precision auto rifle damage per bullet from 17 to 18. Rares, we added a rare machine gun, so these are your blues, and bow to the world loot pool recently. But we didn't have any obtainable linear fusion rifles or breach grenade launchers and wanted to make sure those archetypes were also easily accessible. If you do Wheels of Misfortune or Wheel of Misfortune raids, this is great because people can no longer say, I don't have a linear fusion rifle. Well, you do now, because I'm sure you'll get it day one as a blue. So these are 450s, guys. So I wanted to see what I had for 450s, and the 7th Seraph Carbine is one. And the Braytech Werewolf, you guys, if you were watching my stream the other day, you saw me testing these. I had 2 of these, and I wanted to see which one was better, because I have the curated roll, and then I have one with 4th times a charm. They were almost identical. This thing is so smooth. Like, there's hardly any deviation from where you aim. It's so easy to hit the mark. And there was, I think, my 4th times version had very slightly increased damage, so I kept them both. But if you have the curated roll, which is, you know, you have a curated when you have like the 4 perks right here on the other page, and you can't like pick your barrel or mag, or you can't pick perks. It's just 4 circles across here, and that's it. You're stuck with a barrel, mag, and 2 perks of their picking. That is a curated roll. And I'll tell you, that's a damn good gun. I was really surprised the other day when I was playing with it, because the first time I tried it, I hated it. Hated it. Shadow Price. What is this? This is a 450. I actually like this auto rifle, so look at this to be a little bit more powerful next season. A lot of people are really excited about Super Simulant. I guess this thing used to be OP as heck, and it was before I played. I started playing Destiny 2 when it first came out. It was the first time I ever played Destiny, and then my computer could no longer handle it after a few updates. So I didn't pick it up again until like July of the next year. So after Warmind and Osiris came out. And I think by that time they had already nerfed it. And people were angry they stopped using it. They're like, it's not a good gun anymore, and it's still good. It's still fun. Like, if I need to do linear fusion rifles, this is what I use. And a lot of us use it in DSC for the first encounter because you don't really need anything super high-powered, and it's just fun. When you can wipe yourself against a wall with this, you know you've made it. So those linear fusion rifles are an unpopular choice in PvE largely because other weapons do their intended job. So like single target sustained damage better or more efficiently without the requirement of landing all precision hits. Bungie wanted to keep the linear fusion rifles focused on precision damage but decided to increase the precision damage to make them more competitive. Yes, especially in PvE. And increase reserves. Thank you. To give them more staying power. And that's one of my biggest complaints about linear fusion rifles. Like rocket launchers, the ammo economy is trash. You don't get a lot of ammo, and then the game won't drop bricks for you. Whereas grenade launchers, it'll throw bricks at you all day long when it comes to ammo. But linear fusion rifles, if you take like 5 shots with this gun right here, it'll be like, all right, you're done. No more heavy. Oh, you have an ammo finder? Yeah, we don't care. No more heavy. It's ridiculous. So this is a long needed change. Note that Bungie has seen plenty of suggestions to remove some or all linear fusion rifles out of the heavy slot. And honestly, like the ones that I had up earlier, like they really could be removed from the heavy slot, let's be real. But this is a substantial amount of work and balance risk for PvP. Ugh. Like, ugh. Why don't they just control the PvP parameters differently? Due to the difficulty of balancing sniper rifles as an instant shot weapon against linear fusion rifles with a charge time, with wildly varying flinch and aim assist values, and it reduces weapon diversity in the heavy slot. It's still a possibility for some time in the future, though, if tuning them as heavy weapons doesn't have the desired effect. So, this is awesome. They are increasing linear fusion rifle precision damage by 15% and reserve ammo by 20%. I'd like to see a little bit more ammo, but whatever. It's fine. I'll take 3 more blocks or whatever, depending on what you're shooting. If Bungie truly listened to the community, they should bring back the farm and the quest for this instead of being lazy. Yep, agree. Fusion rifles. So, fusion rifles have been trash for the most part. Like, in PvE, there's really no reason to use a lot of them. But we had Loaded Question, which was a pinnacle weapon a couple years ago. I think it was under Forsaken. I love Loaded Question. I still have it. I still use it. A lot of the activities I play are not light level enabled. It's just go out and use whatever you want. Yes, I was using a Sunset hand cannon today on Europa. That's right. And having fun. But none of the other fusion rifles really stack up to that. And Loaded Question was not OP by any measure. Nobody was complaining about being killed by it. It's not Telesto. So they keep releasing fusion rifles and no one uses them because they're trash, guys. They're trash. So it's nice that they're getting a buff, or they had a buff, but they're still not that great. The recent buff to fusion rifle ranges had the side effect of making the best subfamily for PvP. Again, PvP, like no. So high impact. They made it even better, so they decided to bring low range stat fusion rifles up a fair bit. Okay. They increased damage fall off start distance for fusion rifles, no effect on 100 range stat, plus 2 meters on 0 range stat. I don't know exactly what that means. But it's crazy that these have a PvP focus. Kind of breaks my heart. Perk Subsistence. When Bungie made this perk, they were experimenting with unusual downsides for powerful perks, but ultimately decided that reducing reserves was not an interesting trade-off. This is part of the reason why I don't use it, and if there's overflow on a weapon, I'll take overflow instead. I opt for damage perks over subsistence. If a weapon has a really good reload speed, I don't really care about subsistence. I don't. And also, some weapons still roll with overflow. They also wanted to be able to put the perk on special and heavy weapons, where reducing reserves would feel terrible. Yes! Submachine guns were granting a much smaller magazine fraction than auto rifles, so they fixed that at the time. So, subsistence no longer reduces reserve ammunition. And submachine guns now receive the same ammo fraction per takedown that auto rifles do. It was 10%, like most weapons, and now it's 17%, same as auto rifles. High impact reserves and under pressure. I use high impact reserves. I don't use under pressure. Due to the technical constraints at the time these were created, the trigger condition for these is on projectile impact, i.e. the bonus won't take effect until you fire the weapon once. But Bungie has more flexibility in perk activators now. But we have more flexibility in perk activators now. These are now active as long as their conditions are met. What? I can't breathe, guys. Due to technical constraints at the time these were created, the trigger condition for these is on projectile impact, i.e. the bonus won't take effect until you fire the weapon once. But we have more flexibility on these perk activators now. The bullet point is these are now active as long as their conditions are met. I mean, the condition is hitting something. Huh. I don't know what they mean by that. Maybe I need more coffee. Unrelenting, this was hard to trigger in difficult content, and the health awarded was hard to perceive. It is now easier to trigger in PvE. Immediate trigger on majors. And it heals 20% more. Yes. I have a gun that I love, and it has Unrelenting on it, and I've been wanting to replace Unrelenting with, like, Rampage or something, but this might actually work. I think it's my false promises, honestly. Sympathetic Arsenal is not appealing enough for many players. I don't use it. But it is useful in niche situations, so we decided on a small buff to sweeten it a little. It now grants plus 20 reload in addition to its primary effect. Okay. I like this. Instead of Outlaw, they're going to nerf this so hardcore. I know it. I can already tell you they're going to nerf this. Dragonfly, it always bugged us that Dragonfly wouldn't proc on every enemy you could finish with a precision hit. It now works on heavy shanks and servitors. Yes! Yes! And occurs even faster than after the Season of the Chosen fix. I never asked for that. That's awesome. It's great. Hipfire Grip, we're being careful not to overbuff this since when Hipfire is too effective, it changes the game significantly. So, we're bumping this a bit more over the Season of Arrivals buff to make it even more useful. Plus 1 degrees precision hipfire angle threshold and plus 1.2 times reticle stickiness fall off distance. People are already bringing up Last Word. It's like that's the only gun anyone ever thinks of with hipfire. 1 degree doesn't seem like that much, but for reference, hand cannon aim assist cone angle is 2.5 degrees at 0, and it's up to 3 degrees at 100. You can feel the difference between a 90 aim assist hand cannon and a 100 aim assist hand cannon. It's a 5/10 of a degree increase. So a small difference can be significant. Note that precision hipfire angle caps at the aim down sight's aim assist cone angle. This is so hard to read out loud, DMG. Like, you gotta learn how to smooth out your writing, dude. Iron Grip and Iron Gaze, Iron Reach. We were yesterday on stream when we were going through the vault and picking which weapons we wanted. A lot of our Iron Banner weapons had, all of our Iron Banner weapons had either Iron Grip or Iron Gaze, and I was really disappointed because there's a trade-off. And I was really surprised at how good some of these guns were in spite of those trade-offs. So they decided to buff them a little bit. So they said, we are cautious when making stat bump perks in Season of Arrivals, not wanting to break weapon stat changes at too low a cost. But the penalties these shipped with were too much now that we've seen them in the wild. So they reduced the secondary stat penalty from -40 to -30. So it's not as much of a range penalty or a reload penalty. I don't know what reach does. Grip and gaze are reload and range. Do I have a map here? No. No? No map? We keep staring at Sleeper Simulant. It's like, let's look at something else. Let's go back to our map. That's gonna make your last word even better. Last word is good. It is good. You don't want iron anything on your Iron Banner weapons. Osmosis and Elemental Capacitor. We didn't have time to address these when Stasis came into being, but always wanted them to work correctly when playing a Stasis subclass. Osmosis now switches the weapon to stasis damage when playing a stasis subclass. This should work for any mechanics that ask for stasis damage, but not for stasis ability damage. It also created stasis VFX for all weapon types that Osmosis can appear on. More coming later. I have one gun with this. One. Elemental Capacitor with a stasis subclass grants plus recoil direction and reduces ADS move speed penalty. I wonder if we're gonna have stasis shields now in strikes and stuff, since we're getting weapons. Celerity and Bottomless Grief. Yeah, these are bad. We addressed these specifically in an earlier TWAB, but here are the buffs again. Note that we buffed the perks themselves, so these changes will apply to your existing drops on these weapons. These being alternate perks on Adept weapons can't be applied retroactively though. Wait a minute. They said they weren't going to do that. Celerity now always grants plus 20 to handling and plus 20 to reload in addition to the triggered effect. Okay. That is excellent. Bottomless Grief now always grants plus 30 to magazine in addition to the triggered effect. Yes. Good stuff. Now people are going to want those perks. Thresh, this change is already live and not a buff so much as a bug fix. Thresh unintentionally only worked in PvP for certain weapons in Beyond Light. But Thresh has worked for all weapon types in PvP since Season of the Chosen launch. Okay. Mods. Adept Mag. Adept Targeting. Same reasoning as the Iron Banner perks. We were cautious initially, but think it's fine to reduce the penalties for these perks having seen them in action. So they reduced secondary stat penalty from -20 to -15, and they fixed Adept Mag not granting reserves when applied to a start. I have not used these mods. I might have them. I'm not sure. I got a bunch the other night. I don't know what the stat penalties are. Adept Counterbalance. This didn't feel like enough of an upgrade over standard Counterbalance stock to be worthwhile, so they increased recoil direction benefit. Exotics. You don't want... Oh, right. I read that. Mida Multi-Tool. We've seen many requests to switch this from Outlaw to something more useful. And one thing we've observed is Mida losing fights to weapons that cause more flinch. So here we go. Change the Catalyst perk from Outlaw to No Distractions. Now, I've heard a lot of people really complain about No Distractions. And a lot of people will delete weapons with that. But I've heard people, like, they're really happy about this now with Mida. So, I don't know. I personally like Outlaw. It is what it is. Hawkmoon, increased priority of paracausal charge and paracausal shot buff text. This was sometimes dropping off the bottom of the list. Okay.